Hello everybody, welcome back to the James Lawrence Allcott channel. It is time to go through my team of the season and I'm going to need your help along the way. What I've done is this. I've got myself 2 players for every position and actually might even chuck in a whole of midfielders when we go through it. And what I want you to do is I want you to decide. But I am going to put forward my pick. And this is going to be my team. But we'll work through it together as we always do on this channel. I hope you're doing well. Congratulations on making it to the end of the season. And if you are enjoying yourselves whilst we're watching this, first of all, get ready to vote every single time and put forward players. But secondly, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. Let us beginneth, shall we? So, let's get straight into it. Emi Martinez and Pickford are the 2 goalkeepers that I put forward for this. I want to know what you guys think along the way. I'm not seeing the chat moving right now, so I just want to make sure that I can see that. So I've got to refresh. Are you there? Just want to make sure you are there. Pretty sure you are. Yeah, you're chatting away. Life's great. Okay, good. Okay, here we go. Pickford and Martinez are the 2 goalkeepers here. I've gone for these 2 because I've seen people in the chat already saying Kaminsky. I think that's a nice shout. I think he's had a good season. For Pickford and Martinez, I think there's something important here, and there's a poll there for you to vote along the way if you're watching live. So, Emi Martinez, post-shot XG is plus 7.2. Pickford's is plus 4.2. I really love Pickford. I think he's had an absolutely fantastic season. I think he's such a stalwart for them. But my first pick, when it comes to these 2, I would go with Martinez. And the reason I'll go for Emi Martinez is because I think for what they have been able to achieve this year, Aston Villa, I think Martinez is so crucial. Now, there's other notable mentions that you could put out there. You could chuck Raya in there. You could go for Leno. There's a few, right? But I think with David Raya, I think he does have a lot of protection there. And I think there have been the odd wobble along the way. I think next year he might really come into his own. Alisson has had injuries this season. Edison Belly makes a save. So I think it's one where I want to go with Martinez because I think he's a leader in that dressing room. I think he's a leader in how they play. I think no one's been on the ball more than Martinez this year. So I'm going to go with Martinez as my goalkeeper. Who did you guys go for? I'm intrigued to know. Let me know. Who was it? 57% of the vote, I think, is with Pickford. So you guys think differently. That's absolutely fine. But it's my team of the season. So Emi Martinez is going to go in there, I think. Just about pipping Pickford, shall we say. Let's move over to... Let's go right back. Yeah, let's go right back. Now, I've got 2 options here. And again, there are notable mentions. I'm sure you'll let me know in the comments. We've got Ben White. It's a North London derby. Right back off. We've got Porro. I think White's been phenomenal this year. I think he's been so good. And if you think of the fact that he has got the most non-penalty goals for a right back this season, I might even be able to show you it here. Let me just quickly find it for you. There you go. On our beloved stat head, if you do want to get 20% off, there's a link in the description. Take your content to the next level or just take your football fandom to the next level. Going to be crucial for the Euros if you want to know that extra little bit. Ben White, 4 goals this season, non-penalty goals. And I think he's just been absolutely phenomenal. And you've got assists there as well. He's got more assists than Trent. He's got more goals than Trent as well. And I think that has to be applauded, obviously, when it comes to the team of the season. In the best defence this season as well. I think that plays a big part in all of this. So I think he is the front runner here. Porro, it's a different thing that you've got to talk about when it comes to Porro. Because Porro's played in a team that has conceded goals, but they've also not had it their own way in terms of the defence, in terms of the style of play that they have. And from an attacking point of view, I think he's been really impressive this year, Porro. He's in the top 20% for non-penalty goals, from shots in total, assists this year, and is the top 10% actually for that. So many metrics in terms of being on the ball, and from an attacking point of view, I think he's been really impressive. And therefore, I feel like he deserves a shout. I'm intrigued to see if you guys have got anyone else knocking about. I think Gusto, I think, is a shout. But I think Chelsea, the problem they'll have, and I think what I will probably lean on, and other people will feel differently, is I lean on what are more important parts of the season. I think if you've done well in this last 10 games and there's not been anything on it for you, really, I do feel like the clouds seem to part, and it's a different kind of tension that you've got to deal with. And I can't get away from that when it comes to Gusto, although I think he is a phenomenal player. So for me, I think this is an easy one. Yep, you guys have voted as well. You feel exactly the same. I would go with Ben White. I think he's absolutely been the best right back this year. I don't think that's a difficult one. Porro, I think the things around him have made life a little bit harder for him. But for me, I'm going to go with Ben White. Let's work our way along. So, centre-back positions. Right. Okay, this is where I think you're all going to get very angry. I'm going to chuck out my options here. And then we'll get to a vote. So, Gabriel obviously has had a phenomenal season. And of course, if you've got Gabriel, you can't have Saliba, not as one of the nominees. I think Mickey van der Ven, in terms of his first season, in terms of an individual playing brilliantly, I think he's been absolutely fantastic and deserves to be seen. And by the way, we're doing a video tomorrow. Well, it'll be out by the time you see this, I would imagine, for a lot of people. And it will be the player of the season, my player of the season for every team, or an alternative that I've put forward, and then yours. So you guys who have voted on the Discord server, massive thank you to Reese, by the way, who put that all together for us on the Discord server. Fans from each club have voted for their player of the season, so you can find out who they have said and who I've put forward as another option, and you can decide as well for every single team. But when it comes to the team of the season, we've got Saliba, we've got Van der Ven, we've got Branthwaite. Let's make sure you can see him. We've got Van der Ven, and I wanted to chuck Virgil van Dijk in there as well. Now, of course, you can only get 2 spots in here. And look, if you want to do that thing where they've got to be kind of left-footed and they've got to be right-footed and that's all got to work, then that might mix things up for you. And later down the line, we might have that problem again as well. But for me, I think those 5 are the 5 for me that I think have just been absolutely fantastic this year. I mean, let's talk about Gabriel and Saliba in terms of being the best defence. They have been absolutely superb. So then you're thinking about kind of individual performances. That's literally how I worked it out. I had Gabriel and I had Saliba. And then I was like, okay, what about other standout performances? Branthwaite in his first out-and-out season has been absolutely phenomenal. Let's get ourselves over here. It's a bit cleaner, isn't it? And then Virgil van Dijk, I think, has just been absolutely superb. And I can show you exactly how he has been superb this season. In terms of aerial duels won this year, in terms of percentage and just the general amount, he has been absolutely phenomenal. 136 on StatHead here. James Tarkowski, the only person with more. Obviously, they play very different styles of football, those two as well. And if you think of the other players that are around him, it's a lot of teams with, that are down the bottom of the table a lot of the time. And I think the fact that his win percentage is 81%, like a few of these other guys that, haven't had the same minutes that he has, I think that speaks absolute volumes for what he's done this year. I think he's been absolutely phenomenal. And when I was thinking about my team of the season, I think also, I guess you've got so many changes, so many defensive partners that he's had to play with as well. And they've still been really, really impressive. I had to put Virgil van Dijk in. I did. I had to put Virgil van Dijk in. And so that makes life difficult because I think, look, Van der Ven deserves a shout. Branthwaite deserves a shout. But they're not in my team of the season. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Incredible first season for the Premier League. So deserve a shout. It's between these 3. And I don't think you can be right because I think you can go with what a lot of people want to put forward. But I have to have Virgil van Dijk in there. There's a poll there for you guys right now. You've got Gabriel, Saliba, Van der Ven, and Virgil van Dijk. I think Van der Ven, in terms of an out-and-out performance, is worth chucking in the poll there. It'll be interesting to see how well he does. I would imagine he will finish 4th on that list. We'll find out soon enough. For me, personally, it came down to Saliba and Gabriel. I had to pick one of them. And as great as Gabriel is, and as underrated as he often is, he is the B-side for a reason. If I am picking a team from this season, I cannot not put Saliba in that team. So for me, it has to be that. It's got to be these 2. Is that the right way around? It's not, is it? Let's put it this way around, which actually works beautifully. So Saliba, Van Dijk are my 2 centre-backs. I mean, Steve Cook, I think, should have been in there. Didn't get a shout. Thank you for that, Type 1. Appreciate it. Intrigued to know what the vote says when it comes to that. But for me, I think it's an easy one because Van Dijk has just been absolutely phenomenal. Just an utter monster throughout the season. And Saliba, I just think, maybe I'm just got the Man United performance in my head, but I just think he's been an absolute joke. Aston Villa, they had a lot of good centre-backs, have done really good work this year. I think the problem is there's been a lot of changes with those centre-backs as well. So that's why I didn't do it, whereas Van Dijk's been that stalwart, and Saliba, I think I would put Saliba maybe above Van Dijk in terms of being the best centre-back this season. Left-back. We've got three options here. So we've got Anthony Robinson, we've got Udogie, and we've got Gvardiol. Now, when it comes to these three, first of all, Anthony Robinson is probably a player that a lot of people won't talk about too much, but absolutely deserves to be discussed when it comes to the left backs. From a tackling point of view, he's in the top 1% in the top 5 leagues for interceptions. And he's in the top 9% for clearances. He's in the top 20% for tackles. Defensively, absolutely brilliant for Fulham this year. Will go massively under the radar, but I think he deserves a shout. And I haven't even totally decided yet. I'm intrigued to hear what you guys have to say about this and what you say on the vote. Udogie, it's one of those ones where it's like, it started really well. Obviously, there's been problems with, there's been problems at Tottenham. Been injured. But I think in terms of a breakthrough season, and you say that with a lot of these Tottenham players, don't you? I think he's had a great season playing in that different position here, stepping in here. I think if you stop the voting at a half time of the season, I think he's right up there. And then of course you've got Gvardiol. And again, I think we're struggling with kind of like how you've stepped into a season and the start of it and the end of it. But Gvardiol, he's got 4 goals this season, obviously in fine form when it comes to that. 2.9 tackles and interceptions per 90, which is solid. Playing in a new role, obviously in a great team, but that is a very pressurised role, that left side. I understand people kind of feeling like there's a recency bias when it comes to Gvardiol. I'm really struggling with all three. I might have to go to the poll when it comes to this one, because I think you can make a massive argument for each of them. Consistency throughout the season, Robinson. Udogie, I think, has had some really standout performances in the first half of the season, and in the second half of the season, I think we've had some real standout performances from Gvardiol. And I think if you think of the 3 best, who am I picking? I think we've got Gvardiol's done in recent weeks, or the last 2-3 months of the season, and of course he's played those games earlier in the season as well. I think it is Gvardiol. I think he has been so solid. Robinson, I feel harsh on him. His numbers have been a joke. I think Gvardiol has impressed me the most, I'll be honest. Because we thought he'd be a centre-back, or we thought it'd take a year, but when he's playing here and smashing them in, that's wild. So I'm going to go with Gvardiol. I understand that may not be a popular one. Moving to midfield. Speaking of not being popular. Good grief. Okay. So, Rodri. Obviously a nominee. Obviously. And the poll was tight. 39, 34, 26%. Interesting when it comes to the poll. Now, we've got a decision to make here, guys. We've got Rodri. We've got Rice. Do we pick one of them as a 6? Or do we play one of them as an 8? And to be honest, I could bring in everyone here, which might make life a little bit difficult. Pascal Gross, or let's work our way through them. I'll tell you them all. So first of all, Declan Rice, absolutely unbelievable season. Huge price tag, huge pressure, stepping in, having to play sort of a new system to a point, a new role to a point. Very intricate in terms of Arteta and how he plays. Stepped in brilliantly, stepped in big games, scored big goals in big games as well. Rodri, Rodri is probably the best player, my player of the season, I think I would say. I think it's very, very close with a few, and they obviously offer different things, but Rodri has been an absolute joke this season. An absolute joke, and we all know the stats about when he's not available and how they get on when he isn't available. But he is in, when you look at the top 5 leagues, in so many different metrics, he is right up there. Right up there. The progressive carries, top 1% for progressive passes, pass completions, top 1%, passes attempted, top 1%. I get it. That's Man City. Shot creating actions in the top 3%. Unreal from Rodri this year. Pascal Gross. Pascal Gross gets slept on as well. He gets slept on a lot. And with him, in terms of shot creating actions, 4.83. And that's not a flash in the pan. That happens pretty much every year. Again, creating so much for a team that's actually offered up not as much as we were hoping for. And then Douglas Luiz. Now, I think Douglas Luiz is one where he has been hurt by the injuries that have occurred. But again, I think we need to keep an eye on these players that have done so well and these teams that have really gone beyond expectations. I don't think anyone's expecting it from Douglas Luiz going into this season. I know he did well at the back end of the last season, scoring some goals. but he's been absolutely brilliant this year. And I kind of wanted to get him in there. I also wanted to kind of get John McGinn in there. I thought he deserved a shout as well. But 9 goals, 5 assists, 9 big chances created from Douglas Luiz this year. Did tail off a little bit near the end, but I felt like he needed a shout. So, we've got a bit of a problem here. I think the right thing to do is you have a 6 and you have an 8. Now, Gross could be a 6 or an 8 if you want him to be. I know he generally plays as an 8. Douglas Luiz has actually played both as well, and Rodri's just mental. So, of these 4, I think what I would like to do for my team, I think it's quite easy. I think I would be intrigued to see a poll and see if there's any way that Gross and Douglas Luiz make their way through. But for me, I would say that it absolutely has to be Rice and Rodri. And I think the thing is that I could do it for the content and the clicks and go, all right, you got to pick one of these 2. But I just don't think that's right. I don't think that's right at all. I think you have to have both of them in. And let's be honest, Rice has played as an 8, like regularly. Okay, so that makes life a little bit easier. But obviously, we do need to have our notable mentions. And there is a poll there right now. If you feel differently, make sure you vote. The next one you are absolutely going to want to vote on. And the strikers, you are absolutely going to want to vote on. Because I still haven't made up my mind on that one. Let's go. So, Rice, Rodri, Gross doesn't make it for me, but huge. We love Pascal Gross on this channel. We've done a video speaking about how his numbers in certain metrics are similar to Kevin De Bruyne. Go check that out if you want to. We move into attacking midfield. Now, again, this can get very messy because, of course, we've got the right side, we've got the left side. In attacking midfield, I've got 2 here. Foden and Odegaard. Now, we record this before the final game of the season. And I'd be intrigued to know if people feel like it matters if Arsenal win the league or not. Because if Arsenal win the league, because Foden as well, he's played the last few games out here, and we have got an option, we could put him out there. And that's if just we're trying to sort of cram players into certain positions. So Foden could be out there. Foden actually has played 1 or 2 games out here as well. But we're a bit stacked in this area, which we'll come to in a second. So for me, it's the Foden playing out on the left-hand side in this team, or in attacking midfield. And I think the right thing to do here is for this to be a shootout. Because I think Odegaard has been phenomenal. I think he's been great. And I think it's about having a conversation about those 2. And Foden, I think his best work has been through the middle this year. I think that's where he's absolutely at his best. So the poll is there right now. In terms of the numbers of these guys, you've got Odegaard, 8 goals, 8 assists, and importantly, he's in the top 1% in the top 5 leagues for shot-creating actions, 5.47. I think that's the one to lean on, because if you think of 8 goals and 8 assists for an Arsenal side that's going to do what they've done this year, that's actually a little bit disappointing, I would say. You know, if you think of the numbers he got last year, I think he got 15 goals, did he not? I think that's a little bit disappointing. Foden, as we know, has really stepped up this year. I think on the ball has been just electric. Just the quick feet, the football intelligence, the ability to turn with the ball, the agility, the pace. Unbelievable. 17 goals, 8 assists, 4.6 shot creating actions, top 25% as opposed to the top 1% of Odegaard. Odegaard's such a leader for that Arsenal team in terms of the press as well. Both had fantastic seasons. But who do you go for? The poll is speaking, and the poll is saying 58% to Foden. I would agree with that. Odegaard will have to make way this time. Because, and again, I think you should have players playing in their position. Like here, look, centre back. Okay, that's different. But here, I feel like you need to stick with it a little bit. Right wing. We've got 3. We've got Saka. We've got Salah. We've got Palmer. So Palmer, I mean, let's talk Palmer first, because I've got some lovely stats here I can show you. Okay. Cole Palmer, in terms of goals and assists this year, thanks to StatHead, reveal that he's got 32. This is before that last game of the season, of course, could be different. The guy's 21. It's his first season. 28 90s this year. Shows what Watkins and Haaland have done this year as well, which we'll get into That'll be the last one here. So we know Palmer's had a fantastic season this year. Really, really stepped up. Really felt comfortable doing that as well, which I think has been really, really impressive. And we know what he's done. I think the two others that you've got as an option, Saka and Salah, I think it's one where it's interesting. You've got the guy who's there for his first season, and he's so hot right now. And then you've got Saka, who's kind of on the arc, and Salah a little bit, I think, on the arc of, well, we know they're good. And so it's not as interesting. And I just think that's worth saying when it comes to these two, because I think most people, I would imagine with the vote, I'm going to go for Palmer, right? I also think there needs to be a mention here of Jared Bowen. He's got 16 goals this season, 6 assists. The problem with Jared Bowen is that he's played as a striker and he's played as a right winger this year. And so that's kind of hurt him a little bit, as has players like Bernardo Silva this year, who's played in so many different positions this year. And I think that actually ends up hurting you a little bit if you're not sort of set in that one position, because you can't find, like Bowen, you can't put him in as a striker and you can't really put him in as an attacker here. In terms of Saka and Salah, look, they've scored a lot of goals this year. They're in the top 1% of assists, of non-penalty XG, of non-penalty goals are in the top 5%. Salah certainly is. His numbers are actually better than people give him credit for this year, despite a disappointing last few games, I guess. And Saka just is always there. I think he's shattered, but he always does continue to score goals in the top 10% for so many metrics as well. Not at the same level as Salah, I will say that. When we're looking at it, he's more top 20% than top 10% for a lot of these metrics that matter when you're thinking about those attacking midfielders and wingers. I think this is an easy one, let's be honest. 67%. Going with Palmer. I actually thought that would be higher. Salah, it's no disrespect to either of those players. They're both wonderful. You guys know that. But I think it's an absolute no-brainer. There's no way you can't have Palmer in the team of the season. And that's me talking. That's me, the QPR fan. So good grief. So where to next? We'll finish off with the striker position. So on the left-hand side, we've got Anthony Gordon. And I wanted Matheus Cunha. Left wing was a weird one this year because, again, we've kind of went with the Thogden thing. And look, if we want to do this, we can do that. I just thought that felt a touch silly just because Foden's not always been over on that left-hand side, and I think he's done his best work there. I might come back to that. That might be a decision that I might need to make. It's definitely not that way around. Because I know, look, a lot of you guys are Arsenal fans, a lot of you fans of the top teams, but we need to be talking about these other guys as well. Matheus Cunha, what a season he's had. What an unbelievable season he's had. He's, the hat-trick against Chelsea. I think he's got... How many goals has he got this year? I've got it written down here somewhere. I think it's 12 goals this season on that left wing. Where are you? There he is. 12 goals, 7 assists, 2.36 successful take-ons per 90. That's in the top 3% of the top 5 leagues, which, again, I think that has even more credence when you're playing for Wolves. When this is a lot more difficult to deal with this stuff, and to be able to get those big numbers and to be in that top 3%. So to go and do that for Wolves this year, I think deserves huge, huge, huge credit. Not always over on that left-hand side. I know he starts here and he drives left a lot of the time, but I needed to get him in there. I thought it was integral that he was in there. Someone said they feel bad for Cunha. How many people watch Wolves games? Yeah, because he's been brilliant. He's been absolutely brilliant. Anthony Gordon, I think he's proved a lot of people wrong. Obviously, he had a great summer going into the season. And then 11 goals, 10 assists, top 1% for penalties won. I think he could be absolutely crucial for England. I think he has to play on that left wing for me, for England. I think he's absolutely electric. I think his movement is world class. We've done a video on that. Please go and enjoy that. We're actually really happy with that analysis back then. It was when he destroyed Reece James. So go check out that video when you get a chance. So out of these two... I'm happy to go to the poll with this one because I think both deserve it. 86% going with Gordon. I think he has really arrived, Gordon. Oh, I feel bad for Cunha. I do. I'm okay with Gordon. I think he probably would have made it in mine as well. But do we do the Odegaard switch? I'm going to make that decision right at the end. Centre forwards. Here we go. Watkins, Isak, Haaland. That is so hard, isn't it? That is so difficult. Which one of these three do you pick? Well, let's have a chat about it, shall we? Because let's start with the obvious shout. I think most people will probably want to go with Haaland, right? Haaland's got 27 goals. That is incredible. 27 goals. Nailed on Golden Boot. Nailed on. It's such a weird conversation, and we did a video on this one as well. We've spoken about him, and in the video, we talk about his movement. Can his movement be better? Yes. Is it always going to be a binary decision with him in terms of him being great or not? That is always going to be down to the fact that, you know, he is a goal scorer more than anything else, and so it'll always come down to goals. And so for him to score 27 goals this season, be so clear of everyone when it comes to Premier League goals, and not, you know, win Player of the Year and these things, it shows how quickly we kind of calm ourselves down. Ollie Watkins. Let's get to Ollie Watkins, because Ollie Watkins has got 32 goal involvements. Haaland has got the exact same. 5 assists from him. 19 goals for Watkins, and 13 assists. 13 assists. 13 assists. That is incredible. Darcy says, Haaland a victim of his own success. Absolutely. Again, in that video, we talk about things, how he can improve his movement. But I also make it very clear that, like, he could easily, between then, I think it was after the Real Madrid game, and the end of the season, score more goals than any other person. And I think he's obviously gone and done that. Isak's goals per 90 is wild. It's absolutely wild. 0.8. He's scored so many goals this year. So many goals. Absolutely fantastic. What a season he's had. Ridiculous. He's got the second best goals per 90 in the league, 0.8. Below Haaland, 20 goals in 26 starts. 20 goals in 26 starts. He's been in absolutely ridiculous form in the sort of back end of this season. And again, it kind of comes back to that idea of, like, what do we do here? You know, do we applaud him for that and that number? Or do we go back to the entirety of the season? Or do you just go out and out numbers and go, look, it's Haaland, isn't it? It's difficult. I'm intrigued to see what the poll says. I think, for me, there's only one answer here. There really is only one answer, and it has to be Watkins. They don't get Champions League without him. The assists, the goals, the completeness. You know, playing for a team that's not expected to be doing what they're doing. The fact that he has to be fit. He has to be on it. He has to score. He has to be involved in link-up play. He has to take penalties. He has to do it all. I am such a fan of Watkins. And I think this is the difficulty that Haaland will have. In terms of winning individual awards, it's just expected to him. And the bar is so high for him. He is a victim of his own success. But I cannot not have Watkins in my team of the season. You guys, 64% have said Watkins. The final decision is, do I make this change? I think I am. I think that's right. I wasn't going to do that, but I have. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, hit the like button. And I will see you guys all very, very soon. Loads of stuff coming up this year. The Euros are coming, people. I'm excited. I hope you are too. Got a massive, massive video coming out on Monday.